If you're brand new to real mowing and you've never real mowed a day in your life, then you're probably going to be like a lot of people, and you're going to want to go get something really cheap. So you're going to want to get something that's, two or three or $400. You want to go in as cheap as possible. I mean, a rotary mower these days is 150, 200. I mean, it goes up from there. I mean, if you're going to get a Honda, you could go $700, $800, 1,000. It just depends. And they'll last you pretty much forever. Let's say you want to get something that's two or three or $400. Well, it's pretty hard to do, honestly. I mean, it's hard to find one that's in good shape. Let me put it that way. So if you end up buying something like a cheap McLean or something like that that's on the market, that's totally fine. I mean, that's what I did. I was the exact same way, so I know how you're probably going to be too. I was like, man, I wonder if I'm going to like real mowing. Is it going to be, hard? Is it, what does it entail? I don't know. How good is my yard even going to look if I real mow? So I went and bought a McLean for $250. It was a commercial series, so I went and bought it. And me being me and being the OCD idiot I am, I completely tore it apart, which is what I do to all the greens mowers that I redo and sell, which is, kind of stupid. But that's just what I like to do. I want them to look as new as possible, and I want them to operate as newly as possible as I can without replacing every single thing on them. So I tore it down, and I replaced some parts and repainted it and got it sharpened and all that stuff. And it was good. They're good mowers. But if you're going to go spend that amount of money on a mower, expect it to need some work. Okay, if you're going to go spend $200 on a mower because trust me, listen. If you go to your wife and you say, "Hey, I want to get into real mowing," and she's like, "You already have a mower." Yeah, we've all heard it. Trust me, we've all heard it. And she's like, "You already got a mower. What do you need an elbow for?" Well, it's not a real mower though. I want to get into real mowing. I want my yard. I want the yard to look as good as possible. She's gonna look at you cross-eyed like you're an idiot. If you want to go jump straight to a greens mower, I mean, unless you have the money and you go to your wife and say, "Hey, I want to go spend $2,000 on a new mower," she's gonna punch you in the face. You know, she's gonna be pissed. So you're probably gonna want to get in cheap. I don't it's not that I don't advise it, okay? Because you're going to get in cheap. You're going to realize you're going to have you may have a crappy machine because you bought it cheap, and it's going to need some work, and you don't know anything about real mowers, so you're totally clueless, and you're going to have to stumble and learn as you go, which is fine. I mean, that's good because you're probably going to get in cheap. You're going to buy a McLean, or you're going to buy a True Cut, or some residential homeowner mower that's 20 years old or something, and you're going to do some work to it, but you'll learn how to work on it. So if you want to get in cheap like that, I get it, because I did the same thing. Eventually, what's going to happen is you're going to want to step up. You're going to want to step your game up. Now the question is, do you want to step up to golf course, like full blown, like professional real mower type situation where zero point 0.5 inches is the highest you may be able to go, or do you want a residential real mower? Honestly, I used to give all these residential real mowers a hard time, because there were some new ones that came out last year, and it was just really disappointing when they came out, how they were breaking down and people were having problems with them. And honestly, I just didn't understand it. I mean, some of these companies have been in business 60 years, and they should have that mower down pat. I mean, there shouldn't be problems with it. I mean, bearings going out in year one, cheap parts. I can just look at some of the parts on these mowers, and they're thin and they're cheap. But that's why they don't cost $20,000 like a professional real mower does. So you may not want to jump straight to a greens mower. I get it, but that's where you're going to want to end up probably if you get into real mowing and you really like it and you enjoy it and you like the way your yard looks. then you're going to eventually want to step your game up, and you may want to step your game up to a Rolex or a Revolution. Do what you want. That's fine. Because honestly, a professional greens mower is not made for your yard. It's not. It's made for a golf course. It's not made for your yard. So once you get one, you're going to realize that let's say you're mowing and you get down to the end and you want to turn around and you try to back up. They're pretty hard to back up. Now they'll turn on a dime, but they're hard to back up. So if you have to back up a lot, you're not going to like that. So that's where the residential mower comes in, where it's going to be more handy. But if you can get over stuff like that, which I've it's not that big a deal, honestly. I mean, you have to back up a couple of times. I'm looking to have the best yard possible. So I went professional greens more. McLean, I went from McLean, then I sold it, and then I went to a Toro Greensmaster. I'm not going back from a professional real mower, but I get it. If you want to go residential and you want to go cheaper, I totally get it. Just be aware that you need to look for the reel if it has any life left on it. And let's say you're looking at a McLean. If you're looking at a McLean and on the side there's a little notch where this bolt goes up and down, and the reel moves up and down. And if the bolt's all the way to the bottom, then it's adjusted all the way down. Okay, there's no life left on your bed knife anymore. And you need to be aware of stuff like that. So when you first get into reel mowing, you're going to be totally clueless. You're not going to know to look for stuff like that. So get on Facebook, get on the Facebook groups, and ask questions. Some questions you ask, people are going to rip you into one, like, oh, we've heard this 1,000 times. Well, yeah, of course you've heard it 1,000 times before because you've been reel mowing for years, but you that are just getting into it hasn't, and you need to know answers. So use the search function on the Facebook. You can go to the box just like Google and type in something and see what pops up. Not only can you use the search function when you're on Facebook, but you can go to a Facebook group and go to the search function on that group. And if you type in, reel to bed knife or, first reel mower, something like that, then it should populate some stuff that you'll be able to go check it out. So if you want to get a cheap one, go ahead. I think eventually you're going to want something nicer. It's just if you like it and you get into it and you like the way your yard looks, which your yard will look a lot better with a reel mower than it will with a rotary mower. It just depends on what you're going for, what you're looking for, but you'll probably end up wanting to get a greens mower eventually, if you ask me. So just be aware of those things.